Hello, my name is Tanner Walker. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to answer some questions from one of my online students about locomotion, movement practice, and kind of what are the differences between them and what are kind of the benefits to having a movement practice or a locomotion practice. So, question one, what is locomotion and is it different from movement practice? I see movement practice as more of an overarching perspective, first and foremost, and then all of these specifics fit within that perspective. And the practice is the parts of the perspective that I'm actually working on actively. So, movement practice, for example, maybe portions of it include strength training. Maybe let's use an example of someone who doesn't know what movement practice is, but they have one. Someone who's just a fitness enthusiast. So let's say someone goes and they lift weights and they run. So their physical practice, part of their practice is running and lifting weights. But people who do those things also know there's these other factors in your life that are going to play a role in the result, right? What is your nutrition like? How is the rest of your movement throughout the day? Do you only do exercise for an hour and then you just sit 16 hours of the day? How are your social relationships? Do you have friends or do you just deal with enemies all day? Do you have a good home environment? Are you exposed to nature? Are your eyes only ever seeing a screen in front of you 12 inches away? Or are they out looking at mountains, etc.? So we know even just in being healthy or being more fit, there's a lot of things, a lot of different practices that are going to accumulate and are going to formulate kind of your way of living, kind of your way of expressing that. Movement practice is just taking that and opening the game up even more besides just fitness. So now I just have more games to pull in and more practices that can have me kind of just living more enriched and enjoying my life more, having more fun. So maybe within that fitness sphere, things like hand balancing, maybe things like parkour, maybe sports even, don't necessarily fit into that model. Movement practice is just this bigger organization or this bigger mental model that allows you to have bigger complexity within it. Kind of just like you could think of a big corporation. It's very big, but really it all functions together as one giant thing at the end of the day. So, movement practice very big. Where's locomotion compared to movement practice? I think of locomotion just first as like the definitive term. Locomotor, the idea of motor neurons, things that have motor neurons and that move around the environment. So, animals. Plants don't have motor neurons. They're not motoring about. So, that is what I think a very general eagle-eye view of locomotion. When you look at it that way, you already have a locomotion practice as well. How much of it you're working on, consciously or unconsciously, right, these are areas of thought to maybe bring in. So, for example, let's say in your mode of health, you like to play pickleball. Okay, I say pickleball is a great practice that has many attributes within it that fit into this movement practice. Okay, part of pickleball is locomotion, right? You have to be able to move around the court. How do you move around the court? Is it the same movement patterns as what you would do if you went and did breakdancing? Maybe a couple, but no, breakdancing has a lot that are not here. So, locomotion can be very specific to the domain that it's happening within, right? Or it can be more general. So that's locomotion. Now we're going to zoom into what Luis is actually asking me what this question's about, which is how do I separate locomotion from a movement practice, how I teach it. Locomotion, how I usually work with students, is inspired by Ido Portal, which is how I learned this whole concept in the first place. And the way I differentiate it from things like dance is that I am using it to more explore and discover how it feels and what it is to just move in different ways through the environment. It's not, for example, in breakdancing in a battle form, it's not a performative, this is for someone else. It's, for me, way closer to a vibe of skateboarding at a skate park than it is, a theater performance, shall we say. So in Locomotion, a lot of that inspiration came from fields like capoeira, fields like parkour, fields like circus, gymnastics, tumbling, etc. I feel each of those are all great practices and things that you can go and learn from because they all fit within that movement practice. And you can go get better at that art form, which will have many attributes that you can then take that attribute and bring it to your own personal locomotion practice if you want. So, locomotion practice is just a cool self game that you build with the techniques and skills you accumulate over time. So, movement practice includes locomotion, but it also includes everything outside of locomotion. Question 2. I figure this is a nice little pause anyways. What are some of the physical benefits from practicing locomotion? So now I'm going to pare this back down for a second to locomotion with me as a coach. Doing lots of stuff, lots of movements from places like capoeira, from martial arts, from dance, from acrobatics and tumbling. There's a vast amount of physical, proprioceptive, spatial awareness, actual tissue remodeling type of adaptations that are going to happen from the practice. There's all of these mental adaptations, which are also going to happen from the practice. There's all this emotional kind of psychological shadow drama shit that you have to go through while working on the practice. So for me, the main benefits of locomotion, for one, physical benefits, is it's a way to test everything else in my practice and find out what's missing, right? Do my knees hurt in certain positions? Do I feel uncoordinated going in certain directions? Do I have certain planes and vectors that I can't move in because I don't know how? I don't have any access to those places. Do I feel like I lack timing or rhythm, or I can't organize myself as well as I can in certain scenarios? Locomotion is a fun way to figure all that out because it's wild, it's chaotic, and it's supposed to be messy. It's actually a cool, fun practice to find out how you can move better, because that's the goal. I'm trying to have fun, and to have fun, I want to move in different ways, and to do that, I have to find out why I'm not currently having fun there, which is why can I not currently do that, right? So that is the main physical benefit that I see. Super fun, coordination, motor control, flexibility, relative strength, spatial awareness. All of these things are going to be improved while doing the practice, and I'm also going to get insight into what supporting practices I should probably do. And through doing them, I get to see the ripple effect in locomotion. So I like to almost separate my practice in two different ways, of like more chaotic and more orderly. Things like my strength training, or if I'm measuring my biometrics, things like my blood pressure, right, my blood glucose, all of that, I'm going to be very orderly and precise. Locomotion, when I'm building those skills, I'm going to be very orderly and precise. But when I'm actually playing with the locomotion, it's a play, it's more of a game, and it's very chaotic, actually. And that's something that I enjoy having in my practice. I think that keeps me young, keeps me reacting to real life events, and it's not too structured and rigid. When you see kids play at a playground, they fall and they biff all the time. I think I need to keep falling and biffing all the time so that I'm very comfortable with it, and I take the small falls and the small biffs and I don't have this huge fall or huge biff later, right? So those are some of the physical and I would say mental benefits of locomotion. Question number 3. How has locomotion practice changed or influenced your perspective, approach to physical training, and life in general? Dramatically, massively. I would say locomotion is the reason why I have a movement practice. The initial inspiration was seeing Ido Portal doing his self-dominance video. It wasn't that specific video, but seeing locomotion or this self-expression of motor control for the first time. I don't think I'd ever seen capoeira, and I think that for me was the huge oh my God, I want to move like that. Let's go. So for me, it's changed everything. Everything that I've learned since from Ido, from other teachers like Tom Wexler, Charles Poliquin, etc., all across the board. All of it started because initially it was just seeing, I want to move like that. I don't know what I don't even know yet. And that's what started my whole current process with movement practice. So, that is that. Next question. You mentioned you have been practicing locomotion for over 8 years. Have the countless hours spent learning how to drive your car impacted how you relate or connect to yourself? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Think of it, I would describe it like this. Most people are being driven around and they're not even in the car yet. So, learning to drive, learning more about how I move has completely changed how every moment of my life is, because every moment of life I'm moving through it. So when that process gets affected, it's massive because it carries into every other aspect of your life. And that's really the main meaning of this movement practice is, can we physically orient ourselves here, right? But by physically orienting ourselves, we start to orient kind of these other levels of ourselves as well. So, might have went a little over the edge there. Try and pull it back on the next question here. How has locomotion practice changed? I already did that. Have you experienced any mental benefits from your locomotion practice? I don't think so. The hard part to say is this idea of kind of levels. What is thinking versus moving, and how separate are they really, and are they separate? Or does every form of thought in some way linked to a movement still? If so, yes, 100%, my thinking's all changed because how I'm moving has completely changed. But do I actually think linguistically better? No. That's why I think a movement practice is more than locomotion, and maybe linguistic practice or some other form of mind, mental realm thing would be a good adjunct to your locomotion practice. It's not like just go move around and don't fucking talk, right? And don't just talk and not move around. But can I actually be good at both? Can I be able to move around and speak to everyone while I'm doing it? That helps, okay? And then the final question, why do you practice locomotion? I do it 100% because it's fun. I think one of my huge values in life is I love having fun and I love learning. So, locomotion is, like I try to illuminate, such a huge ocean, Locomotion, right? That there's a lot I can do with it for a long time. What people, I think, misinterpret, though, is that much like food, I like many different kinds of food. It's like asking me, do you like cheese? Like, I love cheese. Do I only eat cheese? No. Do I have cheese every meal? No. So same thing. Do I practice locomotion every day? No. I haven't done any locomotion in I don't know how long in the form of a formal practice. I do locomotion every day, though, because it's bleeded into just movement itself, which I'm locomoting right now. I'm trying to work on this linguistic locomotion, communicating this to you, which is really hard for me. But thank you for participating in my practice. I think that's it. I'm going to leave that there. I have no idea how this is going to turn out. I don't like to write down preparation. I just figure let's just open the valve, see what comes out, and hopefully it made sense and you learned something. Locomotion, movement practice, what are they? Once again, just maybe in closing, this is just a short explanation of my perspective. So, thank you.